now joined by Coach Gibbs, our race-winning owner. Congratulations, Coach. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you have one, please raise your hand and we'll get a mic over to you. We'll come down to Zach and then to Cameron.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com.
Yeah,
Coach,
Zach, yeah.
Congratulations. That last lap, there's obviously Reddick was charging to Briscoe's back bumper for a while there. You see Reddick make that move in turn 3. What goes through your mind in a moment like that?
I got to tell you, the whole last 20 laps, what goes through your mind, you don't want something bad to happen. It could be a lot of things, really. A wreck anywhere in the field causes a caution. And just to have that kind of night where the night team was so dominant. And, yeah, I mean, those kind of things do happen. And you certainly are praying they don't happen.
Go to Cameron.
Cameron Richardson, NASCAR.com. What have you seen in the growth of Chase on this team specifically? Because he started the season just trying to figure it out. They weren't really qualifying and practicing well, and then they would turn it around in the race and they get top 5s, top 10s. But, I mean, ever since the summer, there's kind of been just this massive turnaround where he's winning poles, he's just staying out front, and then he puts it all together tonight. Not only starts up front, but then goes and leads 300 laps and wins the race. So what has been the favorite thing that you've seen out of him in just in his first year here at JGR?
Well, I think it is gaining confidence as he goes. But I think the one thing that we all know in this sport, you look for speed. And the fact that he's been on, I think, 5 poles, and he's really, really been fast. And like tonight, starting up front, and then to kind of dominate the race. I think what he showed is great speed. I think he's he's really hardworking, great person, great family guy. He and Marissa, with their 3 kids now. It's a thrill to see somebody like that he's 30. And for him to have fought that long, to be in the sport, and, he's talked about sleeping on couches and stuff and begging people, and finally gets his chance in Xfinity and dominates that. I think it's just a great sports story, really, and we just really appreciate him. And I think for Johnny Morris and Bass Pro, he's a great fit. He loves to fish. He's got all that stuff going for himself, too. And so we just appreciate when you got a sponsor like Bass Pro. It's just a huge deal because we all know in our sport they're at the top. And so it's great for us to have Johnny, JP, and their team to be a part of this. I really appreciate Toyota and all they do. Obviously, it's just a big part of our race team, their partnership. I appreciate everybody back at the race shop, too. They don't get to enjoy this. We'll have a banner raising on Tuesday, and I get a chance to thank them. And so that's a big deal at our place. But just in general, it's huge for us because our sport is different than other sports. You got to have a great, I don't call them, lots of times, I don't call them sponsors, I call them partners, which that's what they are.
Right here in the middle, and then we'll come down here to Shane.
Hey, I'm Chris Weaver with Fox 8 WGHP up in High Point. Coach, when he won the race last year, you were one of the first people at Victory Lane to congratulate him. He wasn't even on your team yet. You guys had signed him, and I think we all heard you talk about why you signed him. But when you think about that win last year and then the chances of coming back and being that dominant again, what in your mindset was the thought process of him being able to pull this off again this year?
Well, I appreciate you remembering that because – yeah, we did. We hightailed it to Winner's Circle. It was just, it was great. We went through a whole process and, of who's going to replace Martin. And, man, it is, it's hard with a lot of thought. And the way we do things at our race team, it's everybody sitting around, all of our management group, and we go through a lot of discussions, who would fit, who matches up with, our sponsor, and certainly we felt like Chase did with Bass Pro. And so it's a big process, and it's very important because that's a quarter of our race team. And so it's just, we got a lot of people that depend on that. JD used to always tell me that was his number one thought, was our people. That, we got 450 people we have to look after. And so it becomes critical, those decisions, because we all know, everybody in this room knows, you're not going anywhere unless you got a really, really good crew chief and a really, really good pit crew, and in particular, a really, really good driver. So that's kind of what our sport, kind of honors.
We'll come down here to Shane, and then over here to the right to Pete.
Shane Connick, Charlotte Observer. Coach, when you think back to winning Super Bowls and you have early in the playoffs, you want to get as big of a lead as you can, as early as you can, and try to get any buys that you can early in those rounds. And so when you were able to get a driver like Chase Briscoe, and not just win today, but do it as dominant this early in the playoffs, just how important is that starts the postseason?
Well, this racetrack is one that everybody in our sport thinks is probably one of the hardest racetracks to race. And when you go 500 miles, that thing is a long time, man. It's a test of machine and driver and pit crew. We probably had 10 pit stops tonight. And that crew so far has been number one on pit road for the last few weeks. So it takes everything. And if you go 500 miles here, odds are if you got a weakness, it's going to find you. And so thank goodness tonight, I said James and the team there, everybody, just really appreciate them. And I'm happy for James because it's a huge deal for him to be able to get together with Chase. And it takes an unusual chemistry for the crew chief and driver. They got to find a way to work together and go through all this. They've done it in a very quick amount of time. And I got to tell you, it's really impressive. And I'm in the background, so I all I do is pray. I like it.
We're going to go ahead
Appreciate
and
y'all.
we're going to take a few
Yeah.
more for Coach, and now we're joined by our race-winning crew chief, James Small. We'll go ahead in the back to Pete, and then to Jerry, and then over here to the left.
Hey, Joe. Pete Iacobelli with the Associated Press. You mentioned how Darlington can be a really treacherous track and things can go wrong. How good is it, first playoff weekend, for Joe Gibbs Racing to have Denny come back, bounce back, and get in the top 10, for Toyota to have as many top 7 finishers as it did tonight?
Yeah, really important. And I think, if we do a lot together, and to have one of our cars really perform like it did tonight, I felt like really the 11 and 20 and even the 54 kind of got it hit on road there. So it probably took something away from our other cars, but I really felt like the fact that you got a car like the 19 tonight to do what it did, I think that's good for us because this racetrack, like I said, will really test you.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires.net, was along those lines. With your guys kind of spread out all across the field tonight, Bell being the lowest of the JGR cars, just bad luck because he was up front most of the night. Is that kind of a bittersweet for you, and how do y'all deal with that?
Yeah, I think it's, you really look at it, all 4 of our cars are different stories, and you go into the playoffs with 3 of them being in, which is awesome. And so obviously a huge focus is on that, getting a chance for them to advance. And, for the 54, we're trying to win the first race. And so that's a huge deal. So there's a lot each week when we go to the racetrack. And we kind of all work together at the shop. When we get to the racetrack, it pretty much divides up and everybody's kind of on their own. We still share some information. But it's just, I love that part of our sport in the fact that it's really hard to get 3 or 4 teams to work together. And, it's different than obviously football, basketball, and baseball. It takes a lot of really good people to really sacrifice for the overall good of the team. And we're just fortunate. We got great people, really. And so that part of it's really easy for us. Yeah,
We'll take one more question for Coach, and then we'll open up for James.
Barry Richmond, WAKG, Danville, Virginia. You know, when we talk about Chase Briscoe and expectations for this year, what were your expectations? Has he exceeded those, or is he on course for what you hoped he would bring to the team?
I think he's definitely performing at a point where I don't think we kind of thought that would be possible. It's extremely hard. You come to a new team, you got to form a relationship with your crew chief and everybody, your pit crew and everybody, the engineering group, everybody that works on the car. That's really hard to do. And I got to tell you, it's a credit to James and everybody and to Chase, the way they've approached this in a very quick way, have put that car up front. It's been extremely fast and had great finishes. And to get our second win with it is, you know, I don't think any of us would probably have felt that would have been possible. All right. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.